Boom! Ladies and gentlemen, we're live here to talk about the Pokemon market. I mean, guys, it's already too late at this point. Like, you might as well just get out. I mean, actually, you're not even in yet, realistically, because the market is just, Lost Origin, what do we think? 10,000 by next week? Like, at this point, like, I don't know, man. It's getting a little too real here. But before we jump into all the hysteria going on in the market, as always, make sure you leave a like, comment down below, subscribe. Really helps the YouTube channel out. And then lastly, of course, if you want to check out Alex's channel, link is down in the description below. Alex, you ready to jump into it?
So ready, man. Let's do this.
He's so freaking ready, dude. So let's have you, Alex, take it off, because take it from here for us, because I know you had a couple of things you wanted to kind of discuss.
One word. Vindication. I feel very vindicated lately. I'm sure some of you guys saw the live. If you didn't, Kevin O'Leary was interviewed on CNBC, and he gave some insights as to things he's placing his money in. First of all, he's putting about 5% or more possibly of his portfolio into trading cards. The discussion was centered around a $13 million trading card that he and his partners bought as part of their investments. But he did say he was putting 5% or more of his portfolio into trading cards. And for someone who's worth hundreds of millions of dollars, 5% is quite a bit. He also said he holds trading cards in the same investment class as things like his crypto, like his Bitcoin, Ethereum, his precious metals like gold and silver, or things like watches and fine art. And so the fact that he's putting trading cards in that category is another huge thing for just investing overall in this stuff. And, in the interview, some of the, other guys on CNBC, it just sounded a lot like the Pokemon crowd. And the reason I say that is, they were almost like joking or laughing about it, as in like, as it was like a joke putting money into these things. Are people really going to like go look at these things in museums the way they do in fine art? Or, like it sounded like the Pokemon community, that kind of like a naysayer saying things like, oh, it's children's cardboard. No one's going to actually invest in this stuff. Put your money into real investments. And it's just nice to finally see what we've been saying for like 2-3 years now, that eventually the real money's going to come in. People are going to see the investment potential in this, and they're going to start to allocate parts of their portfolio to trading cards. And I just think, Kevin O'Leary is older too. Just wait till you start getting, people our age in their 20s, 30s, 40s, get into positions of power, have real amounts of money. I think this is only the beginning. I think more and more is going to move back. Eventually you'll have private equity, other capital coming in. And this is only the beginning. Boom.
All right, Alex. Here's the real important question we have to ask ourselves, right? So this was obviously something that he was more discussing with like sports cards, right? How much do we think of that is going to trickle into other TCGs? Because there wasn't really a conversation outside of that as far as I'm aware.
Right.
I mean, you obviously can speak to that more, but what is your kind of thoughts on that? Because we're kind of trying to read between the lines here.
Yeah, unfortunately, there wasn't any specifics. It was really focused around that one big purchase of the $13 million sports card. But he did call it trading cards. He didn't call it sports cards. And then also he released a short not too long ago saying that he basically admitted he was wrong about Fanatics, and said that, it's going to be, like whatever. He says it's almost $1 billion industry, and like saying that he was wrong about, trading cards as an asset class, and how he's looking into it more and more and spending much more, time researching it and going over the data. And now he's saying how much money he's putting into it. So again, Kevin O'Leary is only one of the people. I've shared other interviews in the past of other investors talking about putting money into trading cards. But yeah, you're right. It does seem like the sports cards is taking kind of the reins. It's kind of like the more mainstream focus right now. But again, that's just because the older people that was, their childhood was sports cards. I think as you see people our age get up into positions of power and start to be interviewed more, I think the conversation will change the Pokemon cards. PSA puts out their numbers, right? They grade more trading cards than sports cards now. And so that's already telling of where the market's shifting.
Here's an interesting question for you. So obviously, what was the exact sports card you invested in again? Do you know the $13 million one?
It was like a Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant dual signed card.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say because like this is a much like newer hobby, but if hypothetically, because we're talking about this from a hypothetical perspective, right? We're investing in singles and not sealed product, right? Because they specifically talked about the singles that they're investing in with sports cards, right? What do we think they would then park their money in? Because ultimately speaking, if we're saying this is a more, you know, vintage card, right? It's not like a card that came out in the past decade, right? This is an older card that's worth obviously a crazy amount of money. Does that mean that we have more faith that it's going to be investing in more modern era product in the TCG space? Or could you see a real case argument where some vintage Pokemon might actually start to see some value finally?
Absolutely. I mean, it already is, right? Vintage Pokemon's already seeing value. But yeah, I think obviously the top tier creme de la creme, those cards, those boxes, going to continue to do very well. Also, though, I know with investors, right? The more they dive in, they're going to find out how these markets are, how these markets work. They're going to understand population, and they're going to want to own positions in terms of a percentage of cards. And so, if you take like the Moonbreon, for example, they could start doing research and figure out like this card is what everybody wants. And even though there's a ton out there, they may start moving in and wanting to hold full percentage points of the card, right? So they'll say, oh, there's 20,000 out there. If we can own 5,000, we'll own 20%, 25% of the market, things like that. And which again can, trickle down into booster boxes and all those types of things. But then even again, private equity, like it's just looking for returns, right? That's why it moved into single family real estate. It could move into card shops. Like, they're seeing what GameStop's doing. They're probably taking that as a model, but it could move into, wanting to buy out card shops, buy out allocations, grow their businesses larger, see the returns that they're seeing there. Like it's a slippery slope, man. Like I just think people are very naive to where things are headed in the future. And as people continue to look for higher than average returns than like an S&P or a mutual fund, it's going to lead them to markets like this.
Yeah, 100%. I think there's definitely a lot of questions to be had here, obviously with the future of institutional investors coming into the space and kind of seeing, I would argue, it being really platformed by a large individual with a net worth as large as Kevin O'Leary's is. And so we'll kind of obviously see how that ends up playing out as more individuals start to, I should say more wealthy individuals start to come out about their portfolios and what specifically they're investing in. Because, I mean, we're seeing it obviously right now with a lot of vintage cards, whether that be from
Yeah.
the Gold Star era, Level X era, Black and White era, XY, like, which is crazy to think about, like how all of these things are moving so aggressively.
I mean, I was at CollectCon this weekend, like I told you, and just had the opportunity to talk with so many people and have dinner and late night chats with people. And, there's a lot of new money moving into this hobby. And I can tell you, it's, again, me and Eli had a conversation before. We're on somewhat other sides of it, but to me, there's similarities for sure to 2021 with Logan Paul and that boom. I think there are infinitely more like I would say changes in the behavior of the average person buying. I think it's no longer the average consumer that got hyped up by a creator and just started spending money blindly, throwing their money at things in their childhood, racking up credit cards. The people that are moving this hobby are businessmen, their entrepreneurial mindsets, and also they're people with outside money who already have wealth in other businesses or other investments, and they are doing their research beforehand, and they are strategically making moves. Talking about like the investment side, I was talking with the guy. He recently bought the first edition Charizard from Z&G Emporium for $270,000 to give you an idea of how much money he's spending, but he kept talking in terms of owning, percentages of cards. And they, again, admittedly, they were vintage cards. We weren't talking as many modern cards at the time, but he was his kind of game plan. He was buying large amounts of certain cards he was focusing on. And his idea was to have a certain percentage of each market. He wanted to have 20% or 30% of the market. And I think you're going to see much more, talk like that. It's no longer going to be, I want to have one of those grails. I want to collect one of those cards. You're going to have people wanting to control certain percentages of each card or each market. Because that way, that's just how investors, look at things when it comes to investments like crypto or stock market and things like that.
Well, another thing too, just to clarify with people, like this is not 1-to-1, right? Like when it comes to a Pokemon card, like the Gold Star era that came out obviously in the early 2000s, that is vintage in Pokemon. This card that obviously sold, like I said before, if you're comparing it between the two of the time in which it came out, it would be deemed as vintage if it was a Pokemon card, but because it's sports cards, sports has been around for obviously so much longer. It's not as vintage. Like I said before, that's why I'm having this conversation with Alex to begin with, because where do we kind of look and see in regards to like, okay, this card obviously it's not new. It's not 10 years old, which for Pokemon's age would be considered extremely old in the same way as, 10 years old would be
Yeah.
considered young for sports cards, right? So we're just kind of hypothesizing here on like where that kind of might fall in when we're looking at kind of the other, spaces, because realistically it's super. I mean, if you look at new things, right? Like Lorcana, kind of not even five. I mean, what? It's like 5 years old, I think at this point, maybe. I think it came out in 2021, so less than that. So it'll be interesting to see, obviously, what kind of the space is going to look like, depending upon what a lot of these institutional investors start to focus on.
I mean, I see a lot of new things popping up. Like, I don't know if people are aware of these new ETFs that are popping up. Um, I had a chat with my friend Steve. He writes for Seeking Alpha. He's been on the channel before, the Evil Investor. But we were talking about a lot of these. There's these new ETFs that are popping up, which are basically like they're placing like synthetic bets on certain industry, like a synthetic bet on like Nvidia options or on like a micro or a what's Michael Saylor's company. Um, you know what I'm talking about, Eli?
I don't.
I don't know why it's spacing on me right
Let
now
me
because
double check.
I got done talking about it for like hours. But yeah, they're basically like these synthetic, bets, and they're ETFs, and they're playing the options market where they're selling covered calls against them, and they're paying these dividends of hundreds, like 100% dividends, 150% dividends, like
MicroStrategy.
yeah, MicroStrategy, perfect. And they're paying out these ridiculous dividends, and it's just like people are looking anywhere and everywhere to outpace the average gains of S&P, the mutual funds, bonds, like any of the traditional markets. And of course, that led hedge funds to the single family real estate market, right? Now that, the Airbnb thing is kind of coming down, the real estate's, kind of slowing down. They're always looking for new bets, right? And I truly believe in my core. It's why I preach it on my channel. It's because I really believe in this stuff. Hey, I'll go down being wrong, but I'm not going to go down not just telling people how I feel. I truly believe if it's not now, it's going to be some point. The private equity world is going to move into trading cards. And when they do, you're going to wish you owned them, because it will happen at one point or another, whether it be in kind of the way GameStop's doing it. We're trying to control and be like the largest, card shop, the place to go to degrade, whether they buy out a lot of the, it's kind of happening in the service-based industry. They're, the private equity's buying out all the service-based businesses, like, the plumbers, electricians, all that. And they're trying to, really build giant companies. I think the same thing could happen in trading cards eventually. And I also think the same thing could happen with like just owning the items, the investment of them. And so that's just kind of how I feel about it, man. I think it's the beginning of that.
I think the real scary thing to think about, and like a lot of people don't really recognize this, but like, so if you look at Bitcoin, for example, right? Like Bitcoin in and of itself didn't have institutional investors back when it was like 20, $30,000. It wasn't really until it had its last run from like 60,000 all the way to 100,000 where you really started to see institutional investors. And the conversation that was always had, of course, was the acquisition of Bitcoin, because there is only so much, like there is a finite amount of Bitcoin, right? But if you look at the market cap of the items themselves, they're, like I said before, going back to it being very finite, it still is a multi-trillion dollar, market cap. Whereas with Pokemon, depending upon some of these cards you look at, we're talking about some like Gold Star cards, right? That I want to say about several years ago, maybe a year ago, we're going for like we'll take the Gold Star Mew. Gold Star Mew about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago at the latest, was going for around anywhere between $8,000 to $10,000. And population report on that, I'm gonna have to pull that up real quick. But if I'm correct, it was around several hundred, which if you just say to yourself as an institutional investor, all it requires is a couple $1 million. if you can just slowly over a several year period start to acquire all of that single item, and you can control 50, 70 plus percentage of like a specific card, and you can control the market. And like that's just one item as an example, and there's so many items within this space, like as scary as it sounds or as exciting as it sounds, depending upon how you want to look at it, that are extremely scarce and can still be deemed as extremely undervalued based off of just the population report compared to the historical demand of these items.
And the scarier part is how we derive value in this hobby. I mean, maybe one sale on really niche cards. Maybe if you want to
72 PSA 10s.
yeah, and so like maybe you need a couple sales on some vintage cards. Modern cards, people usually like to see, a good amount of sales, 5, 10 sales. But the way we derive value in this hobby is people look at last sold, and they use the alt apps and all the different apps on gauging value when they take trade-ins or when they make purchases. And the fact of the matter is, if you're a private equity firm or a hedge fund and you have infinite money, I mean, you can basically buy all the way up. Right. I mean, you can buy a card when it's $5 grand, 10 grand, 15 grand, 20 grand, 25 grand. And now there's multiple sales. There's a sale at 20, sale at 22, sale at 25. Now, anyone that wants that, they're going to pay between 20 and 25 grand. Meanwhile, you've been buying it all the way up from 5 grand. And so you make one sale, it just knocked off like your cost basis on 2 or 3, 4 or 5 purchases. And so it's just like, I don't think people really take the time to dive into the actual investment and business side of this and how the markets work. They approach it on a very kind of like naive focus, like, oh, it's a collectible. I'm just going to buy what I want, whatever it costs, I'll pay for it. But what it costs is it's being decided by those that understand how to move the markets effectively. That's the scary part.
Yeah, it's fascinating to think about it, but like if you look at the market cap of, and I say market cap from the perspective of like talking about the evaluation of a specific card in comparison to the amount there are in circulating supply, because that is something you want to think about, right? If we just talk about the market cap of Mew compared to like the Moonbryon, there is 18,000 Moonbryons in a 10, and they're going for about $3,000 right now, right? And probably
And there's
more than that
only
with recent sales.
and there's only usually 100 or less of them on the market at any given time, which is wild.
So if you want to own a market cap, if you want to own the entire market cap of the Umbreon, we're talking around $54+ million. Whereas with some of these vintage cards with a way lower like population report, we're talking like I mean, now you're starting to see the evaluation. I can't even imagine what the
Do you
Mew sold
see
for last, but
Do you see now why I've pushed back all these years against people that would try to convince others that vintage can't be manipulated, modern can? Guys, when the market cap is 50 million and a vintage market cap is a few million, explain to me in your brains why you would think a 10, 20 times lower market cap could be less manipulated. Explain that to me. It doesn't make any sense. Of course, the vintage can be manipulated easier. Of course it can.
yeah, I want to see if I can find a recent sale because I mean, that's the thing. This is a card that's
Well,
just
the funniest part is like I have these conversations with people that just don't think before I talk. I feel like in the same breath they'll say that modern can be manipulated easier, and then in the same breath they'll say there's so many modern cards out there they're not rare. Well, if there's so many out there and you try to manipulate the market up, wouldn't a ton of more of those that are out there come to market to realize those gains or to take advantage of the manipulation? Obviously, it makes more sense to manipulate vintage. There's less of them out there. If you can get a small percentage of the 50 or 100 PSA 10s, it's way easier to keep the price of that buoyed up. It's way easier to be in cahoots with a few people that own those than to try to, keep an eye on the 20,000 people or whatever that own an Umbreon. It just doesn't make sense when you say it out loud.
So I can't find any recent sales of a 10. I'm seeing a 9 though that sold for 5,500. And I mean, I remember the sales a year and a half ago, 2 years that were going for right around 15 to 2,000. So I mean, that is a good jump up. And if we're talking about the population difference between the 9 versus the 10 versus for the Mew specifically, that's one that has 472 cards, right?
Yeah.
So if we'll just say that it's probably going for around 6,000 right now, like that's still only less than $3 million.
Yeah.
Like
And
for a
what's the
9,
percentage? And what's the percentage gain? It's
Like if we're talking, the average sale was right around 1,700, I'd say. So like a 250,
Yeah.
300% rate of return, like
And
nothing.
I see Kyle just like going to town in the chat. He keeps trying to, I guess a gotcha moment about Alex with vintage. Guys, it still holds true. Modern is still outperforming vintage. Compare the Bubble Mew to your vintage cards. Compare these modern boxes to your vintage boxes. It's not, look, just because something goes up does not mean I was wrong. Modern is still by and large outperforming the gains of vintage. It's just the vintage have big numbers. If something goes from $18,000 to $80,000, that's still near just over a 4 times, right? You have modern that is going up 5, 6, 700% in the same time frame. It's still performed better.
Yeah, I'll have to see if I can find a specific Gold Star PSA 10 that sold recently, because that's one thing. Because I mean, these items are so scarce. I would be interested to see if we can find a specific recent sale Gold Star that we can kind of compare. I mean, I just here's the most recent one. It looks like, so you can obviously take it for what it's worth. So the Celebi Gold Star just recently sold for $10,000 on auction. People might need to help me here. I'm trying to recall what set it's from. Do you remember which one it is? It's not. It's. I think it's.
Nope.
You don't remember which one it's from? It'll
No.
take me a second, but here, you keep going. I'll look for it.
Crystal Guardians.
It's Crystal Guardians.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I'm looking I'm price charting. How accurate price charting is, who knows? Because there's a lot of these sales that happen. But about a year ago, price charting had the card around 2,500. So about 4x.
Gotcha. Okay.
So about 4x. But guys, I mean, again, look at Lost Origin a year ago. Look at Fusion Strike a year ago. Look at Bubble Mew a year ago. Like 4x is
But
small
here,
numbers.
think about this though. Think about this though, Alex. Population 102, right? That's how many there are. Recently sold $10,000. That means if hypothetically they were all to hit the market, which they're obviously not, but if they were, that's only $1 million. That's only
Yeah.
$1 million compared to Umbreon, which is 54 million. So
Yeah.
like it's one of these things. And here's the thing that's a little different from Bitcoin compared to Pokemon, and so it's kind of hard to compare one to one. With Bitcoin, the way in which a lot of these institutional investors try and play this market out is because they're holding such large bags, they're able to make squeezes
Yeah.
on leverage traders. This is not a leverage traded market in the exact same way. So accumulation phases for these institutional investors look completely different because it's kind of almost in the same way as like the housing market, where like with the housing market you saw like institutions come in like BlackRock
Yeah.
and they were overbidding on regular everyday individuals
Yep.
because they wanted to own a large portion of this market. And if they come in and say, hey, sure, I'm going to overpay for this card significantly. But at the end of the day, every time I do it, it's one I'm taking off the market and it's one I'm controlling more of. They do that enough times until they've owned all of them. And then from there, they just control everything.
So I was at Collecticon, right? What do you think about the fact that you'd see them on shelves? You would see a shelf with Phantom Forces, Flashfire, Team Up, and they were priced higher than a base set 2 box.
Are you talking about the booster boxes?
Yes, I mean like someone had boxes available, and they had Phantom at 12 and Flashfire at 10 and Team Up at 10. They had base set 2 at like 9,500 or whatever it was. That's crazy.
I feel like I maybe you'll disagree with me on this. I think that if that's true, I think base set 2 booster box has to be undervalued.
I like I said, I've made the bet ever since the beginning. Ever since we had those debates with Jake Pokenomics back on his channel, everyone said that, well, for modern to move up, vintage would have to be X amount. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Modern is currently, as we see now coming to fruition, things I've talked about for 2 to 3 years now, overtaking vintage.
So wait,
Modern,
how much were they selling base 2 for?
I believe it was 9,500.
That's not a lot.
Even Jungle Unlimited, Fossil Unlimited, they're near like 10 to 12,000. Like they're being overtaken by modern boxes.
That is
I mean,
crazy.
Eli, you're already seeing the modern 10s surpass a lot of vintage 10s.
Yeah, no, I mean that part makes sense to me. From a singles perspective, it makes sense because with singles, obviously, like, how do I want to say this? With singles, you're looking at the arts, and obviously that's so much more subjective, right? I guess with the sealed product, although you would argue that like you're buying a box that has cards within it that are subjective, but there still is a scarcity play that comes into it. Kind of like how Rebel Clash is going for as much as it is, not because it's such a great set, but because it's super scarce. You have to assume at some point that these base 2 boxes, you might hate what's in them and you think the art designs of modern are better, but you got to get to a point where if we're starting to see boxes start to creep up like modern double that, or several thousand over, maybe there might be an argument for vintage at that point sealed. I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not saying singles though, because that's still very perspective, or that's still very subjective.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I can see it definitely like getting to a point where it rises too. It goes to show like where not just the consumer, but like, the investors headed towards, because they just see more opportunity in the modern. And it's kind of like whoever is Kyle is always trying to shut me down everything I say, try to take it out of context. Look, vintage, it may have done well since it was released. If you're coming to the market right now at the current market prices, modern makes more sense. It's less risky. And comparing it to like any investment out there, you could say, well, Alex, you would have done better in this one, altcoin, or Alex, you would have done better buying, Palantir, with similar amounts of risk, because Pokemon booster boxes have shown us zero risk over 5+ years. That's what modern boxes have shown us. They've been up 100% of the time over 5+ years. And so when you take that amount of risk into something else, you can't say that for single stocks. You can't say that for altcoins, right? And so when you look at the risk to reward ratio, modern boxes have just made the most sense, even if they don't always perform the best out of any investment out there. They take the least amount of risk for the most possible returns.
A couple of things, Alex. I know you're on a little bit of a timer today, so how
Yeah,
much time do we got left, do you
oh,
think?
you're good, man. We can go for a while.
Okay, cool. So then here's what I'll say. Let's remind everyone, make sure you leave a like, comment down below, subscribe, really helps the channel. We'll go into questions here in about 10 minutes. We've obviously been talking a lot about the whole institutional investor stuff, but let's just kind of change things a little bit.
Yeah.
We need to have a conversation about obviously what's going on. Oh, hold on. I forgot to mention it. If you have a question, make sure in all caps, write question, follow it up with your question down in the chat. Makes it easier for us to go through and find your question to answer. We need to talk about Mega. I mean, Mega is going for so we've been having this conversation over the past couple weeks, right? And so Mega was the set that we were like, okay, we feel like there's a possibility that this could be a set that performs weak. But obviously there's always certain things that could obviously change that. And one of those factors was supply. We got announcements that obviously we are going to get this set split into 2 waves. And I don't even remember, what was our conversation? Did we say it was going to be 300 by release or was
Well, okay.
so what was the exact price point that we were betting on? I can't remember.
Before we thought it was going to be 180 to 200.
But that was before the news
Yes,
came.
then we got the news that they were splitting up 60/40 and printing both enhanced and non-enhanced. Then I said it would 100% be 300 by release, and people thought that was crazy.
And it's already at 300.
Well, it's more, right? The non-enhanced are what, 320?
Well, the non-enhanced, yeah. Non-enhanced last sold for 330. Enhanced sold recently for 300.
And we're 3 weeks out.
See, but the thing is like, I don't know. Before release is still several weeks out. That doesn't feel that crazy.
It's true.
Like, that's only a 20% gain, which is, don't get me wrong, 20% is a lot.
The
but like,
here's the difference, right? The difference this time is Journey Together started up here, came down towards release. Destined Rivals started up here, came down towards release. Mega is starting down here and going up towards release. That's a change.
I know it's, well, I mean, to be fair, it was at 300, then went down to 230, then the news came out, then it went back up to 300. So the news obviously played a major factor in the adjustment of how people look at this. Not to mention, too, the major factor that also came into play was the announcement that there's also going to be another print of non-enhanced boosters that you can go and order from distribution and place orders for. So it's not going to just be something where you get it from like a pre-release kit now. Like, no, there is a different item that you can go place an order for, which is completely different than how Journey was handled. So this is going to be interesting to see what happens, because I mean, I don't know what the run-up's gonna look like. It feels crazy to think that this box could like keep going higher, but also at the exact same time, like, this is a scarcity game. This is not because everyone is as hyped as this set as they were with Destined. No, this is a matter of the fact that people see the disparity between the supply and also the fact that there's going to be different variations that you're going to have access to, and they are going to look at that and say, I feel like this is undervalued.
Yeah, I mean, especially when the second wave hits, it's going to correct. But guys, I'm still holding on my prediction. It's going to be 300 plus at release, because until we get that second wave weeks later, streamers are going to need packs. People are just going to want to open it. People are going to want to collect it. There's not enough to go around.
Well, and it goes back to the question or the conversation we were having last week, which was the corollary effect between the two, right? Because like with Journey Together, obviously there's about a $20 to $30 range between the two boxes, and they seem to move in unison regardless of the supply differences between the two. Obviously, with Journey, you had way less non-enhanced boosters, if we're just talking that were printed in the US compared to enhanced. This time around, obviously you're still going to have more enhanced as far as I'm aware than non-enhanced, but it's at least going to see more non-enhanced into the market. So who knows, obviously, how that disparity difference will be. Right now, it's obviously about a $30 difference. It might get closer. It might get farther apart. We'll see once the supply hits the market, but expect probably a similar correlation to happen as with Journey.
What about the Bubble Mew?
Yeah, no. Bubble Mew is popping off.
I mean, what do you think like that kind of means for like market price on cards moving forward?
I mean, it's very much like,
Here, put it this way, Eli. The Umbreon VMAX from Evolving Skies, it did not hit $2,000 until December of 2024. So about over 3 years after release. It saw a spike in 2022 to 1,300, then it recovered and continued to pump. It pumped up to again around 1,500 in May of 24. It was not a $2,000 card until late last year.
yeah.
Bubble Mew is not even out of print, and it's $2,000.
Well, it's interesting too, because like if we want to take a look and compare like the print that we got compared to 151, like, yes, we got a large amount of booster bundles, but we didn't really get an ETB reprint for this set. Like, this is product that, as crazy as it might sound, like, it might have been slept on, not just because like I was a huge fan of the Bubble Mew when it first came out. Like, that was the card I said was my favorite when I first released, but my skepticism of the set came to the fact that like there wasn't a ton of SIRs to hit. But also at the end of the day, if we're talking about a set that never got a formal ETB reprint, I don't know, man. Like 151 obviously is getting Blooming Waters boxes. We never got anything for the set.
Can we talk about that too real quick? So, guys, I don't know if you guys have been watching. Unless the prices have changed now, which they could have in a day. Booster bundle displays, the 10 bundle display of 151 is going for around $1,200. Okay. There's 60 packs in there. There's 10 bundles, 6 packs per bundle. 5 Blooming Waters boxes have 60 packs. Plus, you get all the Venusaur and Blastoise promos, all the jumbo cards, and all the reverse Squirtle Bulbasaurs. So you get all that value and the same amount of packs, and 5 Blooming Waters might cost you 130 maybe, $750, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, not half, but like, I don't know, almost half of what the bundle display. It's amazing how the bundle displays have almost become the booster boxes.
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, it's weird to watch and see what the price has been doing. But also it makes sense at the exact same time because the supply of this product is so much more scarce.
I think to me, the Blooming Waters or loose packs make the most sense in 151 at the current price.
I mean, like the fact that the Paldean Fates ETB is going for 250, like it makes sense. Like it honestly, like it's crazy that it's at that price, but also not crazy from the perspective of like, oh my God, we never saw this coming. But like if you have an item that is scarce, it will go up in value. And that is just a fact. Time and time again, we've seen that.
And Fruit Videos is reminding me, you said it yourself, the collection boxes are just sitting. Yeah. So one thing I noticed at Collecticon too, every booth had all these collection boxes that were just sitting, man. Nobody wanted the collection boxes. The difference, I would say, with 151 Blooming Waters is you can break it down, right? You don't have to hold the collection box. It's not this collection box that has a random promo and a bunch of assorted packs, right? That has 12 151 packs.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a big deal. Like, getting your hands on 60 151 packs at a, almost half valuation of a booster bundle display, I think there's value there because it's always going to be opened at large, quick rates. I mean, I think Crown Zenith is now climbing to like $13.50 to $14 a pack as we speak. And everyone thought, Crown Zenith was overprinted and there was too many packs out there. So that's why you want to go for the PC ETBs, which they've done very well. But now the packs are really starting to run, which means, 151 loose packs will probably be a very good play too, because they'll run after the ETBs, the PC ETBs, and the bundle displays.
Yeah, 100%. All right, you ready to start answering some questions for people?
Sure, man.
All right, well, we'll
do you want to pat yourself on the back one more time though for our other thumbnail?
Oh yeah, the Mew thumbnail.
No. The last screenshot on our thumbnail today. The Lost Origin.
Oh yeah, 100%. Which that's a good. Well, I guess we'll start with that. So shout out to Viranitar for the $5. Eli, did you end up selling some of your LO a few months back when you said it was your largest position? Please tell me you held the bag. So as I mentioned before, I had been sitting on about 100 boxes at that point, and I've sold 2 so far. So I'm still sitting on 98 boxes of Lost Origin currently, and they're all in sealed cases too, so they're not loose boxes.
That's about to be $98,000 here soon.
Maybe 4 of them are loose boxes, right? Well, actually, hold on. What's the math on that? 98 divided by 6. So that puts me. Oh my god, dude, my calculator is acting. So I've got 16. Yeah, I've got 16 seal cases right now, and then the remaining 2 boxes are loose. So. Yeah, buddy, we're still doing good right now. What is there really a huge premium right now on Lost Origin sealed cases? I haven't been looking.
I'll have to check.
So yeah, I was talking to my wife about that the other day, and I was just like, Ollie, do you know what like Lost Origins are right now? I'm like, it's at $850 a box. Like,
so I mean, the recent sales are around 4,500, which no, they haven't had sales on TCG of cases. I can check eBay though. eBay might have had the sales.
Yeah, I was about to say, if that's the case, if you can take advantage of buying it before the premium really pops off in the same way as Evolving.
I think that's why the listing's so high at 6,750, because people know there's a premium now. Looks like eBay's had some sales. I can't take them. They're best offers.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, here, Lost Origin boxes, right? There's many confirmed sales of Lost Origin boxes in the 800s. And so it's very clearly selling in the 830 to 840 range.
Yeah.
And so if we just did 840 times 6, that's 5,040. Yeah, they're listing cases at 67. That's too much. I wouldn't be surprised if you could get 5,500 a case.
Yeah.
53 to 5,500 a case for sure.
Yeah. Well, and as far as it goes with, man, let me double check on. So Brilliant Stars, I still own about 3 cases of Brilliant. So I think I started with 5. So I still have 3 of those. And then I can't remember if I mentioned this. I think I did on stream, which at the time felt like a good deal, felt like less of a good deal. Now it feels like we're doing good now. I did a trade for, it was a case of Evolving Skies boosters in exchange for 2 cases of collectors of Final Fantasy. And that was back when Final Fantasy collectors were going for, I think, 800 a pop, which comes out to 12 times 6, so that was $9,600. And at the time, I think Evolving collectors, so because we did 80% trade, right? So we bought the case for around 9,600 and it was valued at right around 12,000. But what's it valued at now is the question.
What's that?
13,000, the Evolving Skies case. Do you know by chance? Because it's obviously gone up since then.
Yeah, it's getting hard to comp these.
Yeah, because that was back. Oh my god, wow, it's gone up way more than I realized. Yeah, it's already up another $500.
I mean, you can't find them. Like if you want an
Yeah.
Evolving Sky sealed case, I mean, $19,000 on eBay.
What's crazy is like, it's one of those trades where initially we were like, man, maybe shouldn't have made that trade because we saw obviously what like Final Fantasy did, but also at the exact same time Evolving having gone up another 25%. Like,
Here, I'm just gonna
can't
tell you right now,
complain.
there's an actual auction sale from MC Sports Cards.
Okay.
16.1 is what it went for at auction on the 18th. That was a week
Hey,
ago.
there we go. That's a 3,000, 4,000. Well, actually, at the price we bought it at, that's a $6,000 return. We'll take that.
Yeah.
That's not bad. Yeah, dude, it's crazy, man.
Well,
Like,
and you know, with like, you know, that's consignment. I mean, they're only paying like 5%. They're not paying big fees.
yeah, man, it's crazy to think about. Like, you know, it's funny. We talk about all the time, like, what's the best modern plays? And although, like, obviously, like, we've talked about, you know, black and white, we've talked about 151, we've talked about prismatic and all these specialty sets. I'm still saying, like, sitting on a seal case of like these like Sword and Shield era boxes, it just feels so safe. Like you just feel so like I get the warm and fuzzies knowing that I'm sitting on cases of this product. Like that's the best way to put it. Like you can sit here and argue all you want about like, oh, whether it's undervalued, overvalued a box at $400-500, but you know that Lost Origin is going to 1,000 by end of year. Like it's probably going way more higher than that, right? That's $150 away. Like that's not that far away.
Hey man, you know my philosophy these days, like whatever we think is going to happen, you need to raise it by, I don't know, whatever, 50 or 100% and then cut the time frame in half.
I'm a big fan of the under promise over deliver.
Oh, that we are
We're really good at
that.
that. We're super good at that.
I think every thing we've ever called has been lower than what it actually happened.
Dude, I think I remember, I'd have to go back and look at old videos, but I remember we were having a conversation about like Lost Origin, and I think my goal was, I said Lost Origin. I said I'd be willing to bet money that Lost Origin would get to $1,000 by like April of next year. And I think that we had that conversation in April of this year, which is like I want to go back and see if I can find that video because that is crazy to think about, because that would put it within 4 to 5 months after and not a year after. Like that's so fast.
Hey man, what I love about this is I don't even have to like, you don't even have to fight it anymore. You don't even have to like, you know, play into all the nonsense, all the trolling and all like the arguments. I just keep letting the market speak for us. The market just keeps speaking for us. Our net worths just keep growing and the businesses keep going better. It's just like, dude, if people still don't believe in this stuff, that's on them. I don't care
Take
anymore.
it. Another super chat. Thank you so much for Navum 2025. Hey guys, thoughts on holding TFPR OF booster box cases for now and later flipping them into DR cases a year or two from now versus buying DR prismatic now? That's a good question. I like this question.
Dude, I like prismatic, man.
I think
I'm with you on DR. I think there will come a time where it's a good amount. I can see DR dropping into the twos, whether it be the mid twos, higher twos. I think there'll be a better entry point with prismatic. I think we talked about this beforehand. I think people are. Here's what happens, guys. Okay, Pokemon continues to print these sets like into the ground by all measures of the word. But if the price point doesn't drop in half or to a point where people expect it to, their immediate knee-jerk reaction is to say, well, they didn't print enough. They need to print more. They are printing millions of prismatic packs. They printed millions of 151 packs. It didn't drop. It doesn't mean they didn't print enough. It doesn't mean they didn't print into the ground. It means the demand is so strong. The investors believe in it so much that it's not going much lower. And so when it comes to prismatic, I've been public about it, guys. I've already dropped a good amount of money in prismatic for an investment. Not sure if I'm going to buy more right now. I may continue to buy it. I still like prismatic as an investment, even at the current price point, even though this is the last thing I want to say. This whole idea of in print, it needs to be reevaluated in people's minds. They hear in print, and to them, that means it's printed every week, every month for the next 2 years. Guys, SV Base is in print. Palday and Fates is in print. Paradox is in print. Temporal in print. All these sets are in print. Are they getting printed? No, they're not getting printed. Could they? Sure. But the fact that Prismatic Evolutions will be in print for however much time, it doesn't mean it's always going to get printed. It might have printed now. It might not get printed at all for 6 months. Maybe some more coming then. That doesn't get printed for a year. Maybe more come at the end. But it's like this idea they just print it forever and ever and ever, and it never stops. And it's not how it works, guys. It's never worked like that. We're moving on to Megas. They're going to have to print Phantasmal Flames. They got to print more Destined Rivals. They got to print more Surging. They want more Twilight. They have to print everything. And so the fact that Prismatic's print as much as it is hasn't dropped as much, I think that's strong.
I think to answer your question, I would say you can do a little bit of both. I would say don't get too cute with it. Obviously, Prismatic feels like a really good price right now. Like you can probably get it for, secondary market around $90. Maybe if you're lucky, even, cheaper. But realistically speaking, if you're going to try and play the strat of like taking advantage of the sets that are, about to go out of rotation, try and get some value off of them while Destin gets a reprint, I'm probably saying the safest one for me would be Paldea Evolved. The only thing that I would say you have to take into consideration, I know that wasn't the one you gave an example of, so if I'm going to pick the three, I'll just say, Paradox Rift, right? But in my personal opinion, though, you have to still take this one thing into consideration, which is what is your cost to offload? Because realistically, if let's say that you bought this on, and we'll make it simple, you bought this on TCG Player, sold it on TCG Player, you have that 15% fee. So in your personal belief, if you feel like you're at least going to be able to make more than that after, shipping, and it wasn't something where it stayed the same over the next, year and a half, and you don't build up too much of a position to where it now becomes more difficult to liquidate that, like that's kind of the big risk that we're not talking about here if you're going to do that strategy. So I'm not opposed to it, but like I said, don't get too cute with it, don't over leverage it, like realize what the whole goal here is, which is to pick up more DR in the long run. So just don't over leverage yourself into these other positions just for the sake of moving into another one at some point.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, PR is the obvious choice because it's cheaper than Obsidian. It's a better set, in my opinion, than Obsidian.
Yeah.
And it's due to go out of print quicker than everything else. So I like PR.
Better buy at the moment. $12 Crown Zenith or $12 151.
151.
Yeah, at the moment, yes, 151. Long term, who knows? But 151 just feels much better right now.
Yeah.
Would you ever consider trading a 151 ETB at 80% value, 100% Fantasy World, for the respective amount of a prismatic ETB? No. 151 safer right now than prismatic. Prismatic is a set that came out literally this year, and it's a set that they've made devotion to the fact that they're going to print this thing as much as possible. So there's more prismatic coming. 151, it's going to go out of rotation relatively soon here, and when it does, it's still not going to stop.
Honestly, you know what a better question would be? a
The other way around.
151 PCETB for like 3 prismatic PCETBs.
Yeah, I like, maybe this is crazy, but I like the prismatic ETB's PC better right now.
Yeah, I mean 151 is almost $1,000.
Yeah. Prismatic will have its run at some point. On the PC side, that is. Next question is, do you think there is anything that would cause the people hoarding sealed products in their closet to sell, like something where we might see a drop in price, or are we cooked? Do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
You can go first on this. I do want to respond to Trade's welcome, though. It's not the same question, dude, because PCTBs are widely agreed upon that either they don't get reprinted or they get reprinted a very slight amount. I know they restock some prismatic PCTBs, but like the fact that they're going to keep reprinting possibly more prismatic ETBs in Sam's and Costco or other packs, it's a lot more effective on. It'll have a bigger effect on the prismatic products, not the PCTB, because it has that stamp promo. And so, no, like 3 prismatic ETBs compared to 151 PCTB, that's not the same as 1 regular 151 ETB compared to 3 regular prismatic, because the prismatic regular ETBs are probably going to be more volatile in terms of how much is printed than the PC is. So that was the difference, I guess, if that makes sense. But here, you take this one first, dude.
Yeah, so I think the hard part about this, Shaggy, is I don't know if you're referencing product that's in rotation that is likely to get printed versus not, but I'll humor you with this. One, I think that there's too much validity that's being put on people hoarding boxes more than prices going up because of product being opened. Because that's what actually causes prices to go up. It's not people hoarding boxes, it's people ripping boxes, because that accelerates the incline of the scarcity of these products, right? And so now if we do want to have a conversation specifically about people that are sitting on product and just asking a question, what would get them to move it? Well, you've got two different types of individuals. You've got the ones that are in this hobby because they heard that you can make a quick buck. It's starting to become much more mainstream. Like, I've got a lot of people recently that have been reaching out to me that I know who have literally never talked to me about trading cards or investing in it, that are all of a sudden now reaching out to me about it because they saw what Final Fantasy is doing. They've seen what, Destiny Rivals doing, and they've asked about it. And so you've got those like kind of casual individuals that just want to make quick money, and they're pretty easy to scare once you start to see the first sign of any sort of weakness in the market, right? You see this all the time where, someone gets into Bitcoin at $60,000, it corrects all the 20,000, they sell it, and then within a year, if they held it, it went back to 100K, right? Like, stuff like that happens. You could see that happen with weak hands if people were to get into product that is more modern, that has a chance at reprinting. If they obviously, for example, got into evolving, I don't see that happening. But if we're looking to the more veteran investors, the people that kind of understand this hobby, the only realistic thing that could get them to sell would just be life events, right? Some sort of economic event occurs where they need to liquidate it, whether that be for personal reasons or whether that just be through hardship within traditional markets. But that's kind of like the two typical sealed, like regular everyday individuals you're looking at, and specifically what they're holding might also change that question, right?
Yeah, and Shaggy, 2 things. People are either most of the time embellishing at the very least, if not flat out lying about their positions. Everyone wants to pretend they have, mountains of product, but they usually don't. And another thing is they sell out. Put it this way, I still had the Lost Origin box up. I started to scroll down. Every single seller has less than 1,000 sales on TCG, except for one. When you finally get to $900, you get to a 1952 sale seller, but then it keeps going to 148.56. You don't get to a seller that has 10,000 plus sales, like a real, large store, until you get to 950 plus 15 shipping on Lost Origin. Then it jumps to 1,000. And I've looked at other boxes like this. Most other boxes look like this. So even everybody that says they're holding, they usually all sell out. Most people that are holding Scarlet Violet, some have already sold. Most will sell out when they hit 300-400. Most have already sold out of Sword and Shield. Some people held a little longer, selling out now. Once these sets get to like, later stages and higher prices, most all of the weak hands have already sold out. They've already sold out. And so very, 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 very few people actually hold large positions of Sword and Shield and Sun and Moon and XY because they've already taken their profits. And if they haven't sold out all of it, they've taken some of it. And so that's why later on the product seems so scarce, because all the big guys own it and they're not freaking letting it go. They don't need the money. And if you want to buy the stuff on the market, you have to pay full price. And the people who own it all are not going to discount it for you. And so I think it's widely overblown that like everyone's doing this. So there's too many people doing it, because over time there's just not.
No, I 100% agree. I mean, and I will just speak to myself, right, with my Lost Origin position. There's been many instances in which I've had like personal things come up in my life where I've like, it would make sense for me to sell it, like obviously getting the home or just other instances of like liquidity issues with the business. And the one thing that's like just kind of stopped me is I've always just said, hey, this is your last resort. If you can kind of figure it out, like figure it out before you decide to let go of this position. I've been very, lucky to not have to do that. And so because of that, I've just continued to hold. And it feels like it's always one of these things too, where most of the time when I'm looking at the item and I'm saying, okay, do I want to like sell this? It's usually right before a big run happens, and then the run happens, and then I remember why I didn't sell it the last time I had this exact same conversation with myself. And so I just keep reminding myself, like, as much as I hate to say it, man, like I might need some liquidity at certain points in my life, but if I can like find other ways and avenues to acquire that liquidity without having to get rid of my best position that I've held for the past 2 years now, like, I don't know. I just don't see doing it, right?
Hey, and you didn't watch my video I posted earlier, right?
I know I didn't.
Good. All right. I talked to a bunch of people at Klepticon that were streamers, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is the one thing they told me that the hardest part of their business is right now?
It's not getting supply. Okay.
That's it.
Oh, that is it? Okay, cool. I was about to say that feels like the obvious one.
But it's all streamers. It's not just pack openers.
Right.
They can't get enough singles. They can't get enough slabs.
Yeah.
Can't get enough packs. No one can get enough product. There's too many customers for the amount of supply that they can get. I mean, they say that, I talk to people like, will go to shows every single weekend and buy anything and everything goes to their booth. They're willing to pay upwards of like, they'll start, low and they'll go up 80, 85. Some will go up to 90 just to have enough for their streams to make it through another week to get cards. And obviously packs are just a joke to even find it right now. Everyone has the issue of finding enough cards, finding enough packs. Guys, that is not indicative of a market that is struggling. It's not.
Yeah, I think I've said this before. We have a lot of people that come into our shop and do trades with us because we have like the best buy rates in the valley. And the difficult thing is there's so many good items where we're doing these trades. I'm like, man, I would love to just sit on this product, but like we have no product for our shop, and so it ends up just having to go on the shelf. And it was funny because I was talking to my front of house manager, and we were just having a conversation about inventorying items. And he's like, how do you want me to inventory an item that gets sold the minute it goes on the shelf? Because I feel like I'm wasting my time skewing this, and like it just immediately just goes away. And so I was like, all right, dude, I'll make you a deal. You don't have to inventory it as long as it sells within the same day. At the end of the day, then you add it, then you can adjust the inventory. And he's like, okay, cool. Because it literally gets purchased. Someone is either right then and there and purchases it. Oh, you're selling that to them? Yeah, I'll buy it. Or straight up like someone comes in an hour later and is like, oh, you just got that in, and then buys it. Like it's crazy like how quickly things fly off the shelf.
Yeah, and Super Thinker, no, people will sell at 70%. Like, here's the thing. You don't start out and blow everything. You don't like give your top dollar, right? Like if someone came out to you and wanted to sell something, why wouldn't you start at 70%? And sometimes they're going to say, yeah, I'll take it. Like you can always go up. You can't go down. And so, yeah, I'd be offering 70% if I was a vendor too. They might take it. Then if you got to go to 75, go to 80, go to 85, do what you got to do. But like, if you really want the deal, don't let it walk away. But of course they're going to start low. Why wouldn't they?
Well, I mean, and so we offer, just because I'll just say what our trade rates are. So if you have items that go for over $100 in the shop, we'll do 70% cash, 80% store credit. Obviously, depending upon the item, we're willing to move up from there, right? There's been instances where we've given a better rate, like in 75, 85 plus percent. But realistically, like when it comes to people that come into the shop, a lot of individuals are like selling for various different reasons. Like there's one person we have, I'm not even kidding you. You'd have me believing that they're still doing the Sea and Sky boxes right now because every single week he comes in with another Sea and Sky box that he's offloading. Right? So you've got instances of individuals like that. Or you've had other people that will come in on a regular basis and they'll trade their 151 that they got, and they're just obviously like, hey, I'm just trying to get this item for singles. You guys obviously match TCG player lowest listed for singles, and this is the best value that I'm going to get for the sealed product. And so I'm going to come in and I'm going to do a trade specifically because I know that this is the best value I'm going to get in exchange for the singles that I'm trying to get for my collection, right? Because they'd much rather have the cards for their master set than they would the sealed product itself. So it's like instances like that where people have their own kind of ways in which they come in and do their trades, in trying to get the value from it. So it's not like black and white where everyone's just coming in because they've all just been hoarding this product. And I just gave the sealed instance. I didn't even talk about the single instance where people just have collections and they just come in and sell their singles off because the value went up, or they just recently pulled it, or they invest. Like, yeah, it's just so different. There's so many different cases to it all.
It's true.
All right, next question here. Oh my god, we've got so many people.
All right, let's do it. Let's rapid fire them. Here we go.
All right, rapid fire if we can. Do you think high net worth individuals and or corporations are already investing within the space, or maybe on the way? The recent news known. No, it's speculation, but would love your opinion.
Do you think high net worth are already investing within the space, or maybe on the way? Probably a small amount, but I think many more are on the way. I don't think we've seen anything yet. I don't think we are 6 months to a year out from even considering a slowdown at this point. Honestly, I told Eli before stream. I literally told him he can tell you. I was more on the lines. I'm holding everything. I'm not selling anything in this market except like slabs. I think I grade myself and like my regular business operations. But as far as all my long-term holdings, I'm not selling a thing. I haven't been buying aggressively though. I've been taking deals here and there when they make sense. I'm actually considering starting to buy aggressively again. I think there is going to be another kind of like boom inside of boom. I think we have a lot more money that's going to start coming to the market.
So I look at it in this regard, and also we talked about this before stream, is it's like this. So if you look at kind of what happened with Bitcoin specifically, or just any other like speculative investment, if you want to call it that, you typically have your like stages of the long term of the market. And usually how it starts off within the space is you have like a small amount of like big money investors come in, and then with each bull market cycle you get more of the same. You get more institutional investors and more fish that come into the space, and that progressive scale continues to climb as the space continues to grow. It's kind of how you look at it. In a good way to kind of compare it is if you look at the population report of some of these other items, a pop 100 used to be a lot. Then a pop 1000 used to be a lot. Then a pop 10,000 used to be a lot. And this number is going to keep going up as the space continues to grow. So it's one of those things where, yeah, like we've had institutional investors in the space. Was it a ton? Probably not. I mean, it's hypothetical, but is there going to be more coming into the space? Of course. And it's going to continue to grow as this space has more time, more establishment, and Pokemon continues to obviously just grow as an IP over its history. So that's just kind of it. I mean, that's just all healthy markets do, right? It just goes this, this, this. Like you just look at any chart, like that's how it always plays out. Do you think Pokemon is combining old XY sets during this mega evolution? Phantasmal Flame sounds like Flashfire and Fan Forces. Which do you think the next combined set will be?
That is crazy. Okay, my guess it's gonna be It's gonna be like Breakpoint and Breakthrough. They'll do like a Gyarados Mewtwo set.
I mean, but here's the thing, right? Shining Fates, Hidden Fates, Paldean Fates, Shining Legends, like Legend Makers. Like, I don't know, man. They have their words that they like to use, and they just never they just keep using them, man.
That is
So
crazy.
yeah,
Yeah.
legendary treasures, legendary collections. Like, I don't know.
I'll tell you what though, dude, using all the Gen 1, Gen 2, like Gen 3 Pokemon in these sets, they're gonna go to the moon.
I know this is like, I don't want to get too derailed off topic here, and I know you probably haven't seen it. Have you seen the Mega Victory Bell that was released? Or Victory Bell?
Oh, I've heard about it. People didn't
Oh
like it or
my
something.
god, dude. I'm so like, dude, when are they gonna release a good Mega? It is so crazy to me how like bad these Megas look. Like, I don't know, man. It makes me really upset that they haven't come out with a good Mega yet, but it's so bad. Yeah, it's not great. People are saying Blooming Waters are bad to buy at around 125 or lower because it's a collection box. But to me, since it's a specialty set, it seems like a great play. What are your thoughts?
Dude, like I said, I love it for the pack price. Like, if you got space, keep it sealed because you can't, you never know what's gonna happen. But dude, that's basically like $10 a pack. It's just over $10 a pack. You're literally able to buy Blooming Waters for less than the pack price on the market. Whenever
I
you
mean,
can wrap things in more plastic and cardboard, it's always better.
this is a rhetorical question, right? Because we already discussed it. But Alex, do you think that 151 is going to follow the path of Crown Zenith, if not outperform it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right now, Sea and Sky boxes are going for 180. They're just cheaper. 151 is cheaper. We think it's going to be a better opportunity in the interim as it goes out of rotation. And with that, it's obviously going to be seen as a value as it's still, you know, widely available within the market itself. This is like Sea and Sky boxes, and don't get me wrong, it was a different time in the market, but like you could get them for so cheap for such a long period of time. And so most people look at that and they say, "Oh, well, it's a different situation because you can't get Blooming Waters for nearly as cheap because it's not just sitting everywhere." But that's just because the demand in the market is so much higher right now. If we switch this and we said like 151 during the time when seeing skyboxes with the market the way it was back then, we'd be having the same exact conversation, just flipping it from the sets themselves.
Availability really it really trips people up on assigning value.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Like, it's crazy to think about if we just switch this exact same scenario and we just said Crown Zenith was widely available right now at the price it is, and 151 was the product that was the Sea and Sky boxes at the time that were being printed like crazy and you could get them widely available.
Yeah.
Like, people would be saying the exact same thing.
I mean, it was kind of like that with the 151 UPCs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To our point. Yeah, people we've said this so
And
many
it was
times
so it was
before.
such an that was one of the most obvious plays, like with the promos it had inside, with the amount of packs. Like, I don't know why people just wouldn't listen.
I mean, it goes back to it, Alex. I mean, we're just beating this dead horse at this point, but it's like people are always going to make excuses on why they're never going to buy the Charizard Ultra Premium Collection when it was at $300. It's too overpriced. I'll buy it when it's cheap, and then when it goes to $70, it's a brick. No one wants to pick it up because it's not worth anything. So it's like people are gonna always make their excuses as to why they're never gonna invest in a specific item. So it's the exact same thing with this. I mean, I feel like nowadays more than ever, obviously, like people can't really turn that same blind eye, but who knows? There's still probably a decent amount of people out there with that same mentality because I feel like a lot of it is human psychology and at its core.
Lucky viewer, obviously it's Evolving Skies.
Yeah, what do you see hitting 10K first, if at all? 36 loose packs of team up or Evolving Skies boosters? Yeah, it's Evolving Skies.
Obviously.
I mean, team up team up is really scarce and it's a great set, but Evolving Skies is a set that is I mean, it's record breaking. Like it is a literal record breaking set that has shown no signs of slowdown.
Oh.
It's confirmed we're getting Temporal Forces and Twilight ETB reprints. What? So I made a correction. I talked about this. I can't remember if I talked about it on last stream. I'm pretty certain I did. But I also made the correction on Twitter or X. It's Surging in Twilight. I don't know if Temporal is also coming. But anyway. But who the heck asked for T? Yeah, like I said before, I made a correction. I made multiple corrections about that. It's Twilight and Surging. Yeah, literally, I sent. It's funny. I have an exact screenshot from one of my sales reps who told me that Temporal Forces was getting reprinted, and then I had a phone call with him, like the next day, and I was like, "Hey, so people keep telling me that Twilight's getting a reprint, and you texted me Temporal," and he's like, "Oh yeah, Twilight is getting a reprint." I'm like, "Is Temporal getting a reprint?" He's like, "Oh no, I messed up. I accidentally said the wrong set." I was like, all right, dude. Moltres SIR is already down 15 to 20%. Thoughts on the PSA 10 seeing a swing once the UPC stamp Moltres starts to get graded?
Is it? I haven't paid enough attention to all the singles. Top shop collectibles are all the Destin Rival singles down 15 or 20, or just a Moltres? That I think that's more relevant. If it's just a Moltres, then that's something to be looked at. If it's all the singles, it's probably just because they've been out now for a while and they're starting to retrace from their highs. So let me look. All right, so let's look at the Mewtwo. We'll look at the Ho-Oh. Look at the Garchomp. All right, so it looks like the Mewtwo. Yeah, they're all down quite a bit. The Mewtwo is 400, and now it looks like it's selling down in the 340 range. So that's, what is that? Yeah, it's about 20%. Yeah, I think all of them. I think all the singles have retraced quite a bit from their highs. So no, I don't think that's anything to be looked at based on the stamp promo.
Well, I don't know if this is the best comparison, but the Ends Reshiram, specifically from obviously the enhanced boosters, and comparing it between the one that you can actually pull. Here, let me see if I can pull it up specifically. I can look at the price differences between the two. But interestingly enough, the stamp promo is actually going for more than the regular one.
Oh, I see what they're saying. Oh, okay. So guys, this is the thing with TCG Play, right? If they're saying it's down that much in a week, well, here's the problem, right? That you have to look at the entire, all the information. It spiked from 135 to 180 before that. So it was already going through what you could consider like a buyout type scenario, because none of the other cards in Destin Rivals were spiking. And then it retraced back to the same price point it was before that. So that's a typical type, buyout type behavior. I wouldn't, to me, I wouldn't look at that chart and say it's just because of the Moltres announcement, because I mean, it started in July, it was going for 135, July 7th. And then it spiked up to, by August 11th, it was $180. And now it's retraced back to around the 130s.
Yeah, I mean, context matters here.
That's my opinion. You guys can disagree. And that's fine. It's just why would every other single have been trending down and that one have spiked all of a sudden in a matter of a few weeks? It seems like there was something else going on there, because it spiked way before the UPC was ever announced.
Adam Bomb says, "Am I crazy for wanting to FOMO into a small position of DR at 295?"
I mean, here's the thing, dude. As long as you have the right mindset, right? As long as you're not jumping in thinking this is going to be $500 a box here soon. As long as you have the mindset of, I want to build a position. Could it go lower? Sure, I can buy more. Is there a possibility it never goes lower? Possible, very low likely. No FOMO here. But is it possible? Maybe. Like if you want to start building a position, you can start averaging in at 295. It's not the worst idea in the world, probably not the best idea, but I mean, I think people like they make this determination like it's all or nothing. It's just like, well, what if it drops to 250? I don't know. Didn't you and your girl go out and get $45 in dinner last night? So if it drops from 295 to 250, is that not the same price you probably just wasted going and buying some video game? It's just like, it's not the end of the world if you're down on a box for a small period of time, because in 3 years, you know, this box is going to be higher than 295 in all intents purposes. I mean, there's very small possibility it's not going to be higher in 3 to 5 years. So it's like, I don't think it's that big of a deal if you want to start averaging in.
I don't think you're crazy. Personally, it's not something I'm doing, but like Alex said, and this was exactly the way I was going to put it, it depends on your mindset, because ultimately, if you're someone that is looking at this from the long-term perspective, it's not going to matter too much. You can always just dollar cost in average lower if price is correct, but ultimately you have to have that mindset that if hypothetically a reprint happens, you don't just panic sell it, but you instead pick up more and look at that as an opportunity to lower your entry cost.
Yep.
All right, we will do a couple more questions and we'll get out of here. I have 4 PC PRE ETBs. Is that, what's that? What's PRE? I swear.
Oh, prismatic.
Okay, that's what I thought. Prismatic evolutions. Yeah. I got at MSRP. Heck yeah. I have no Destined Rivals booster boxes. Should I trade a PC ETB for Destined Rivals booster boxes right now since they're about the same price, or better hold for the ETB? I'm holding the ETB personally.
I'm holding.
Yeah, I'm holding the ETB. Yeah, I don't. I'm not overthinking that. If y'all couldn't invest long term, didn't have distribution, and have to grind away profits in Pokemon, what method would you focus on to make money in the hobby? Appreciate you.
Well, I mean, I was grading cards. That's what I was doing before I was streaming. I was, you know, if you can go to like local shows or local card shops and be able to look at them in person, you can do very well grading cards. So I think that's one of the ways. Or if you really want to, if you want to vend, I would say stick to local shows first, so you're not spending tons of money on travel and hotels and all that. And you can go vend local shows and take in, you know, trades at, you know, whatever you can get trades for 70, 80%, but depending on the singles or something else, you can make margins there. And then, yeah, I mean, if you want to go the scalping route, go run around the stores or try to jump on online drops. But no, I think like, you know, starting out like buying and selling on either Facebook Marketplace, Discord, going to shows and vend or whatever, or also grading cards. I think both those are really good options that you don't need anything for. You don't need to invest. You don't need distribution. Anyone can do it.
I mean, I feel like there's 2 things we can look at here, right? One, Alex, you're already like, obviously you're investing long term, but even if you take that out of the picture here, you have distribution, but how realistic, like how often are you using your distribution?
For all, I don't have distribution. Let's be honest. Like,
yeah, like he has, I don't want to say who the distributor is, but in our program, they're widely regarded as like the worst of the distributors we have access to. And Alex's only distributor is them. And then on
well,
top
I'm not
of
saying
that,
they're bad. I just, because I mean, I do know people that get very, very large allocations from them. And, you know, I love my rep.
I'm curious,
yeah.
when you say large allocations, are we talking
Pokemon has them.
Does he get over 500 booster boxes from them?
From just them? Not sure. Probably close to that amount though.
Okay. But anyway, I mean, the thing is, Alex got them like without having an opportunity to build spend, right? I
Right.
mean, there's nothing to buy.
Yeah,
right?
it's the funniest. It's the weirdest. Like again, the internet trolls are hilarious. Like it's the weirdest gotcha out there. It's like he has distribution. He wouldn't get what it's like for the little guys. It's like, dude, I got like 3 Destined Rivals boxes, or sorry, 4, and then I got 3 White Flare ETBs. I didn't even get Black Bolt.
How does it feel, Alex, to
And by the way, those are units, not cases. Like I got 4 boxes, 3 ETBs. Like I get nothing, guys. It's equivalent to nothing.
How does it feel to not know what you're talking about because you don't have distribution, but then when you get distribution, then you don't know what it's like to not have distribution?
I just asked you.
Facts. That's so accurate, though. Yeah, I mean,
literally, I ask you, and I talk to a couple other people who have like shops or whatever and have multiple distributors. And I try to talk to you guys and get an idea of where everything's at. And then I kind of get my information. Cause yeah, like I don't, guys, like, look, again, like Eli said, I don't, I got in too late. I don't have any legitimate allocations. I can't build Spanx. There's nothing to buy. It's like, I got nothing to tell you. I have nothing to get. It's just,
yeah, depending upon the set release, we're getting as a program, give or take around 3,000 boosters. So
yeah.
it's uh it's it's a good insight on how the market feels a lot of the times, which is nice to know. But yeah, no, I mean, Alex, at this point, going back to the question, how much of your product then, since it's obviously rhetorical, are you buying secondary from the
All of
market?
it.
Yeah, all of it, right?
All of it.
Well,
99.999%. I mean, here, put it this way, guys. For Mega Evolutions, let's say I get the same amount as I did for Destin Rivals. Maybe I get 4 booster boxes for my distro. I already ordered 32 cases from outside sources, from open market, but stores that like I, made bulk deals with or I buy from all the time. But like it's open market. I'm not paying distro prices. I'm
yeah.
paying slightly under what market was at the time. And now that markets ran up, it's looking okay. But I'm buying from the open market.
Yeah, I mean, Alex, the question is literally if you couldn't invest long term and didn't have distribution, what would you do to make profits? I mean, he's streaming. Like that's one of the options that you can take is you can go the streamer route and do what Alex is doing. Um, or you can obviously do what he obviously said earlier, in regards to like flipping graded cards and such.
Is the bulk game of Magic still there, or is even that
Oh
not
yeah,
viable?
bulk game and Magic is still viable. The difference is though right now is there's less opportunities at distribution when it comes to the commander decks
Well,
because
that's
the
what I'm
market's
saying.
been
Like
crazy.
someone who doesn't have distribution, can they even do that in the open market? Can they buy
Um
decks
they
in the
can
open market and
they
in
can
bulk?
not sealed commander decks, no, but they can 100% buy collections and they can sell off the competitive cards and make a ton of money doing it.
Okay,
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of
so there's
people
another
that I know
option.
that do that, that buy collections off of Magic. I mean, that's the thing about Magic is it's a game of convenience. Like people want certain cards, and so you're able to buy collections off at a discount because people don't want to have to deal with buying cards that they don't want.
Yeah,
And so you can easily go in and buy these collections for a discounted rate and get a lot of the cards that are still extremely playable and valuable at a discounted rate to then, sell that could fit into someone's competitive deck.
yeah. I mean, look, it's harder now than it was, but I mean, the options are still there. It's just everything in this hobby. It's just like don't be in a rush, and also time's going to do its thing. Time's your friend in both in building just like inventory and building flips and compounding gains. And just like
Mhm.
I just think everyone tries to get there too quick, you know.
Yeah. Um, I have $130,000 of value with 67,000 invested. Nice. So almost a 2x return. Um, in this market, would you sell half your inventory to get to a net zero? I want to hold long term, but the idea of having 60K of free product is good. It sounds great, but like I wouldn't do it. It like mentally, because here's how I look at this, right? So I've talked about my position, right? And how much I'm sitting on. Right now, I just closed on a home, right? Like last month I closed on a home. The idea of being debt free sounds great. And if I'm being 100% honest, if I wanted to, I could sell off my entire inventory and I would use all of that money. I'd have exactly enough, funny enough, to pay off my home in full. But to me, I don't want to do that because I know that the long term value of my collection investments, supply for the shop in the next 5 years is going to double, if not triple, if not quadruple. Who knows how high up it's going to go? And in the next 5 years, I could be having this exact same conversation while being able to still sit on 50% of my position and having my home paid off, whereas it would have been all of my position. Does that make sense? Like you could keep having this conversation infinitely as long as the value continues to climb. So there's no point of doing it for that exact reason.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it all depends on your outlook on the market. Unless you have something in your personal life that you're trying to accomplish, I'm not selling into this just because I truly believe that anything I sell right now is going to be worth more in the future. Like I said it before, like at the beginning of the year, I'd rather buy every single box at the beginning of the year. I said it at full market price than wait a year and hope that some are going to be lower. Cause like, yeah, maybe we get a reprint here or there on certain sets and they're lower. Overall, everything's likely going to be higher. And so it's like, yeah, I sold to pay off my house. And it's just, guys, I told you guys before, I'm kind of a wuss when it comes to investing. People think like, because you invest in Pokemon, you're like ultra risky. Guys, I guess it depends on how you look at it. I view sealed investing as very risk off. But I wanted to get the house paid off and be in no debt because I don't want to have risk in personal life. I don't. You can say, well, what's the risk? The payments. It's like, well, your risk is you and your wife both lose your jobs, right? Pokemon goes down, you don't have income from that, all that, and she loses her job. Now you don't have income coming in. Now what? Oh, get another job. What if you can't find another job? 3 months goes by, 6 months goes by. What if you can't? So like, I don't like the idea of, like if you can afford the payments, you can afford it. And like house payments, obviously that's not a big deal, but like, I think a lot of people like load up payments. So, well, I can afford that car. I can afford that boat. I can afford this. Like I make this much. What if you don't have, well, my job's safe. Yeah. Everyone thinks their job's safe till it's not. Right. So like, I always like to be like,
dude, oh my God. Okay. So I'm not going to say who the person was, but I was having a conversation with someone not that long ago. And I was talking about my job and we were talking about their job. And the conversation came up about like me putting 20% down on my home. And they were like, "Oh, why don't you just take that money instead and put 3% down and then put the rest in the market and you can make all this money instead."
yeah, it's
And
always
I'm
that
like,
conversation.
one, I don't want to have to pay PMI. Two, what happens economically, if turmoil happens, like something happens and I lose a lot of my income or everything goes south, like I don't want to have to, do that. That feels super risky to me. And their response was, "Well, with my job, I'm safe because people are and it was one of those things where when they said that, I was like, so many people in '08 were like, my job is safe. So many people nowadays, and you're seeing this literally right now, people that are, and I'm not saying this is what they do for a living, but I'm using this career path as an example. So many people in the past 5+ years went to school as software engineers. And they said, this is what everyone wants. And there's so much money as a software engineer, as a computer programmer. It's such a safe job. And because so many people went to school for that, it is now like if you were able to get the job the time you did, then like congratulations because you're now safe at a company making good money. But for those like people that are graduating college now, they're getting screwed and
Mhm.
they're going to make so much less because of the competition of the market. Now, if you were to take that element and add the fact that there hypothetically at any point could be some form of turmoil in the market that could cause huge layoffs, you're going to be right there with the rest of the people that are struggling right now that don't have an opportunity to get a job. So like thinking in that way, I don't know, man. It's just like it's just a tale as old as time. Well, yeah, I'm safe unlike the rest of these people. It's like, no, dude, like that's not how you should be thinking. Like cuz no one's safe. Everyone thinks they're safe.
Yeah, I just hate those arguments, like the argument of like, oh, well, your percentage gain could be better here. It's like, you could do
Yeah.
this with the money instead. And it's just like, you're taking into account that you're always going to have a job and you're always going to want to work. It's just like, well, what if I don't want to work at some point or I want to take time off? Like, well, you can't because you're strapped with all these bills now because all your money's invested. And if those investments don't pan out in that certain time frame, because it takes long times for the market to give you those guaranteed returns, right? So if like in 5 years the markets don't have the returns yet because you haven't given enough time to grow, well, now you're kind of screwed. Now you got all this risk on with your payments. Your markets didn't grow as fast as you needed them to because you didn't give enough time. I hate all that. So like, Luke, you got to go back to your question, man. Unless you need it for other expenses, or if you just really think that there's going to be opportunities that open up that are going to be better to have that cash for, then great. But it's just the reason I wouldn't is because I truly don't think there's going to be opportunities open up in the next 6 months, a year that having the cash is going to be better than having the product.
Yeah. No, 100%. So, like the instances that, Alex gave, he obviously wanted to deleverage himself and kind of be in a position where he could have a home fully paid off. For me personally,
I'm a
that is
wuss.
huh?
I'm a wuss, dude.
He's a wuss. He's a wuss. And I obviously gave that exact same example, right? Where I myself have considered it for that exact same reason. The only reason why I haven't yet is just because of multiple factors. I mean, one being it's the store's inventory. If
Oh,
the
hold
store
on.
has no
And
product.
how old are you?
Huh?
How old are you?
I'm 26.
Yeah, so I was that way too when I was 26. I would have definitely taken the way riskier path 10 years ago. For sure. Absolutely.
Well, and it's not, and at least for me, right? Like my mortgage payment, because I did put 20%, it's not nearly as bad as someone putting 3% down on a home at the same exact cost. And on top of that, too, with that, like my goal is to use my current expendable income that I have to make more aggressive payments towards the mortgage. So I'm not just making minimum payments. I mean, dude, if you just run the calculations on an amortization calculator, you're getting absolutely destroyed at 6 and 6, which is what I'm at right now, 6.6.
Yep.
So it's like I am very much like, hey, I'm going to use my expendable income that I have currently and I'm going to pay off my mortgage more aggressively. And then once I get to a point where, I feel like I have a good amount of investment that I can offload but still keep,
Yeah.
then I will get to that point where I can start looking at moving it into paying off my home in full.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be wiped out 100%. I don't want to be there yet.
Yeah, I was taking crazy leveraged risks in the market and stuff when I was in my 20s. So yeah, I think I'm just more risk averse now just because I feel like, I'm getting older,
You're
running out of
33,
time.
right?
35.
35, yeah.
I'm getting to that point where it's just again, you talk to regular people and they'll say you're crazy, but I'm getting to the point where I'm like, I need to start retirement planning. I need to
100%.
think
Yeah.
about it. I'm not, because we talked about before, I'm not trying to work in my 60s and 70s and all that.
I mean, I'm doing that right now. Like, I'm in the position where, for me, I literally, I mean, we're going a little late along on this, so I'll try and keep it short. I was talking to my wife, and you've seen the pictures, right? People in the program, people outside the program,
Yeah.
where my living room was literally made into a castle of battle academies.
Yep.
And we made our rental into basically a warehouse. We had no furniture in our house, like zero furniture.
Stay on the boxes.
And I told my wife, I said to my wife, trust the process, Holly. Like, trust the process. Give me 5 years of growing this business, and we're going to take every dime that we would have used on buying things for a home, and we're going to reinvest it into the business, and we're going to grow that. And then once that money has compounded or it's grown exponentially, then we'll take that money that we made off of it and we'll go buy a home, and then we'll buy the furniture. And so that prolongated return, or that, kind of build up of just penny pinching every second of the way, is finally just now paying off. And so, to your point, Alex, it's one of these things where I would also like to put myself in a position to where I can, be financially independent at a much younger age. But
Yeah.
it's one of these things that took a lot of sacrifice over the past 5 years. And, and quite honestly, having a wife that has been able to tolerate having a home as a warehouse, that's crazy that I was able to find someone and be lucky enough to have someone that is willing to trust the process as much as she has.
Well, dude, I'm not gonna lie, dude. I don't even like to say my real plans because when you say it to regular people, you just get bashed because they don't think it's possible. I had someone in my comment section say, "What makes you think you're gonna be retired? Rudy hasn't even retired." Rudy's worth probably 100 million plus. Dude, he can retire whenever he wants. He likes what he's doing. It's just so when I tell people, it's dude, my plan is to retire in my early to mid 40s. That's my real, but you say that to people and they're just well, that's impossible. Inflation and this cost and that cost. You can't do that. It's fine, dude. Okay. I can't. Okay. See, I'm trying to go 60s and 70s. Sorry.
Yeah, right.
You can't even say it out loud because people are so locked to that even mindset for some people that I don't even get into it. I don't argue with people. I say, okay, you're right. I can't do it. Sorry I said anything.
Yeah, it's crazy for them to imagine that the reason why Rudy is working is not because he can't financially retire, but it's because I don't know, maybe he enjoys what he does and he likes the game he plays.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know. Crazy. Last question, then we'll get out of here. What do you think would be the single best set to buy right now from each Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet?
I mean, 151. God, dude. Are we really going to say Evolving Skies? I don't know. All right, I'll say Evolving Skies.
He says right now, right? So it's right in this very moment.
Yeah. Evolving Skies 151.
Right now, 151 seems easier.
Hey, experience shares with me. There we go.
I feel so boring, dude. I'm like trying to tell myself maybe Lost Origin, but evolving, it just is like, why would you bet against that? It's just because like, yeah, you got to go evolving. You're going evolving. Yeah.
Dude, here's a really good question. Do you think Lost is gonna beat Fusion?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Dude, it looks like it might overtake it eventually.
Yeah, I think so.
It's pretty crazy.
I mean, have you seen the trainer gallery cards in Lost Origin?
Like what they've been doing now.
Yeah, price wise.
I know trainer galleries overall are pumping. I think Brilliant Stars is doing the same thing.
Yeah, no, trainer galleries in general are pumping, but I
Yeah.
mean Lost Origin in specific because it had some of the popular characters like the Gengar, the Pikachu, the Charizard. Like, you remember my Pikachu card, which I mean this is not a crazy return on investment, right? But you know the obvious like the Sleepy Pika one?
Yep. Yeah.
Like
How many of those do you still have?
I think I bought $1,000 worth of them, and I bought them all at an average price of $6 or $5.
Love it.
So, and their lowest listed right now with a gold star seller is 19. So, I mean, I tripled my money, so I'll take that. Not the worst pickup, but also at the same time, like you have to remember what the price of Lost Origin was. If I just spent $1,000 in getting those, I still would have been performing so much better. Because, like, dude, I remember back in 2023, you could get Lost Origin. I mean, like I said on last stream, you can literally see my one and only short video of me telling you to go buy it when it's in like 110, 120 bucks a Lost Origin box. So,
well, unfortunately, man, I do have a
yeah,
consultation call.
We got to get out of here. Like I said, that was our last question. Thank you guys all so much for stopping by. Make sure you leave a like, comment down below, subscribe. Really helps out the YouTube channel. Of course, if you want to check out Alex and his content, link is down in the description below for that. Anything you want to say before we get on out of here?
No, man, it was a great stream. Guys, we ain't coming back down to earth anytime soon.
Hopefully, you guys all have a wonderful rest of your Monday, and we will see you all next week. Peace.